Welcome to Hit the Bricks Live, your number one podcast for horror movie news, with Lee McCoy from Drum Dums, Nick Miller from the Lost River Drive-In, and Davey Deathray. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
Hit the bricks, Dorothy.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to a brand new episode of Hit the Bricks Live. It feels like it's been a while since we did the last episode. This is episode 9. We are very, very happy to be here. The horror news, I don't think it's plenty. I don't think there's anything crazy going on. I mean, we got young Jason, but is that worth really talking about? I don't know. So, Davey and Nick, I missed your pretty faces. I'm so glad you're back. I know Nick just was on vacation in Florida, my neck of the woods.
Yes.
So, how are you guys doing? We'll start with you, Nick. How are you doing, brother?
Doing all right, guys. I am, what's today? Sunday. I am now less than 2 weeks away from when I should be able to have my son back.
Dude, that's so awesome.
Just wanted to let everybody know that. I'm excited. I need to start doing some stuff in the backyard and stuff because he's going to want to play back there. And it's been a little bit. But Florida was good, man. Got to go to Universal Studios, rode everything I wanted to. Dude, have you been, Lee, recently?
Yeah, we actually went to Universal a couple months ago, and we always do, because now I got my granddaughter, so we do a lot of the parks. And funny enough, before I even lived here in Orlando, because I've lived here about 4 years, but before that, we still used to come to Orlando just about every year when I was in the military. And I remember, like, right after 9/11, if you were military, you could pretty much get in for free to all the parks, like right after 9/11, because everybody was really patriotic back then and whatnot. So yeah, man, I'm so used to it. I know freaking everything. And my son's like addicted to theme parks. Like, he even looks at YouTube videos about, like, there's like secret doorways in Disney that they don't advertise. It's kind of like the secret McDonald's menu. There's a secret doorway in Disney to some of their rides, not for the employees, but like, I don't know, like secret rides. Maybe somebody in the chat will know what I'm talking about. But
well, the reason I ask is because I didn't know if you had ridden the Hagrid ride, the motorbike ride. Because oh man, is it good? That was so fun. I almost don't want to tell you what happens on it because there's a moment where, like, it changes direction, like a bunch of shit happens I was not expecting. And actually, when the picture was taken, because I'm not familiar with that park, so I don't know where the cameras are on the rides.
Yeah.
In the picture, we didn't buy it, but like I was doing this and going like yelling like whoa, because like I was having such a fucking good time on it. But yeah, dude, it was awesome. I needed the time away, and my first day back at work, I was like, I want to be gone again. So yeah, I'm doing well.
Have you done the Velocicoaster?
Oh, buddy, did I? Yeah.
Oh my God, dude. I couldn't handle it. It was too much for me.
That was the longest wait we had. It was only 45 minutes, but it was the longest wait. But my
45 minutes? Dude, you got lucky.
I know. That's what I'm saying. It rained half that day. We didn't even get there till 3 p.m. We waited in our hotel. Wow. My mom was like, we're not going to go until it stops raining. So it was like 3 o'clock by the time we finally got there. And the park was nowhere near as busy. I mean, my mom lives there. So she was like, when we walked up to the will call, she was like, oh, yeah, it's nowhere near as busy as it normally is. And I was like, hell yeah. Well, we can ride everything then. And we did. I got a butterbeer and the Harry Potter world. Yeah,
butterbeer is good.
Which is basically just straight up sugar. But I loved every second of it.
Cream soda is pretty much what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a butterscotch cream soda.
Oh,
yeah, it is.
It's so good, delicious, man. But yeah, it was a good time, man. It really, really was.
I'm glad you're back safe and sound, and I'm more glad that you get to finally see your son in a couple weeks, man. Because I've been thinking about you, and thank God, I'm sure. And I saw how happy you were. But Davey, how are you doing, brother? I know that we were on the Superman stream together. We were holding it down for Man of Steel. Thank God I had somebody on my side that time. But no, seriously though, it was a really good time. So. I don't know. How's life been treating you, brother?
Life's been great. Last weekend was Mad Monster out here in Phoenix, and it was really cool. So, I went and saw Superman a second time, and right in the same, it's this area called Westgate in Glendale, and they've got like a couple arenas there. The Cardinals play football there, all that kind of stuff. So I just walked right across the parking lot into the hotel for Mad Monster after watching Superman in 3D IMAX. And yeah, the whole weekend was great. Stayed there at the hotel, got to get a bunch of signatures up on my Jason mask there. Kick it with Vincent DeSanti. Pretty, the first 2 days of the weekend. So that was pretty awesome having him at the table. Hanging out with Ron Sloan again. That was cool. I was like, wow, 2 summers in a row. Okay. but yeah, Mad Monster is always a blast. 8 hours all weekend. So I've been playing a little catch up, working on stuff for the channel, and I know what you did last summer.
Yeah, he's the we could probably talk a little bit about it, but I think Davey's the odd man out. But I would say I think most people don't like the new movie, and I've been on like a 90s slasher run, like literally right before the stream. And by the way, guys, this is the Halloween pajama party. I don't know about you guys, but I'm wearing pajamas. I'll show you right now. If you can see them.
There we go.
Look at that, huh?
I don't even have pajama pants. It's so hot. I don't even have my pajamas out, so these are the shorts that I wear when I go to bed. So there you go.
Oh, there you go.
That's as close to PJs as I'm getting.
I was wondering if you guys were just like bottomless, and now we know.
I'm wearing pajama pants.
Yeah.
I'm actually wearing more than I usually wear during Hit the Bricks, just so everyone knows in the chat there.
Well, I did have a question for my chat too. I always like to get my chat involved, but speaking of Halloween, are you guys in the chat? Are you ready for a new Halloween movie? Or like if something was announced, tomorrow, because usually Monday is like a big day for like horror news. So if they announce something tomorrow, say, hey guys, just so you know, the TV plans, we don't know about that, or maybe they're scrapped, but we have a brand new Halloween movie coming. We can't give you any details yet on it, but it is a brand new Michael Myers Halloween movie coming. I need to know from the chat, yes or no, or hell no. Is that something that you would be excited about? And this might say something about you as a Halloween fan. Okay. It just might. So, and you know what? Since I'm asking the chat, I'll ask you guys too. I'll start with Nick. Nick, if they made an announcement tomorrow, new Halloween movie, it's coming out, what would be your first thoughts?
It just depends. I don't want to give that political answer, but like it really just depends on what storyline we're following here. If we're doing a remake, no thanks. If we're doing a legacy sequel to Ends, no thanks. Now, if we're gonna do something like Jamie Lloyd, I'm intrigued. Or if we're gonna do something like build off Halloween 3 in some way, which I know is a pipe dream, I'm intrigued. So I guess it's 50-50. I mean, it would really just depend on where they go with it. But I mean, if I had my druthers, let Michael rest for a little bit longer. I'd rather, this is crazy as a Halloween guy, but I want Freddy back more than anything. So
I agree with that for sure. What about you, Davey?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I feel like we can afford to have some time here away from Michael. I think it's, we got so much. We're pretty lucky. If they bring him back and they've got an interesting new way to do it, then that would be pretty awesome. Did you guys ever see that pitch, that like black and white pitch animatic from like the early 2010s? Did you guys ever see that? It was floating around online. There's, I think you can still check it out on Vimeo. I covered it on my channel like a year and a half ago or something, but I saw it right when it came out, and it's very interesting. It's this, it's an animatic, so it's not fully animated, but it has voice acting and everything, and it's this these 2 police officers that are rushing to Smith's Grove. There's a fire at the hospital, and the guy is like, okay, just like chill out. When we get there, like follow my lead, blah blah blah. You find out that they're brother and sister, all that kind of stuff. And you get this really cool moment where they show up to the hospital. Everyone's freaking out. People are like safely walking out. Other people are like seeing things behind them and jumping out of the windows and stuff. And they go in there and they put on like their masks so they can like breathe through the smoke and everything. And you get these little flashes of like a figure, and Michael is going around, killing people and getting ready to break out. You get the idea that he's like maybe even like naked or something. It's very odd the way that they show it. But anyways, like, spoiler alert for an animatic that may not get picked up, but the way it all wraps up is he ends up killing the brother and sister, and there's like, and then walks out of the burning hospital, and he's a grown ass adult. You don't know any backstory or anything like that. And I'm like, that would be a cool way of just sort of like reinvigorating and restarting the franchise, not having to go back and do any sort of backstory. We all know the character. So I think if they have a smart way of bringing him back, but yeah, I mean, I would be surprised because I wouldn't expect anything until the 50th anniversary. So if they announce something, I'd be like, oh no, what are they doing? But yeah, Freddy, let's bring Freddy back. Why not? He doesn't have enough good movies, so let's give him another shot.
Yeah, I'm selfish.
Like, doesn't have enough great movies.
Yeah, I mean, I want a Freddy movie like crazy, but I think logistically, of the big three, it sounds like the easiest one to bring back in a solo movie right now is still Michael Myers. I don't know, just because of, even though a TV show is underway for Crystal Lake, what does that mean for an actual Jason movie? I still think there's a little bit of legal red tape to have a full-fledged Jason movie. I don't know. Like, Nick, would you agree with that? Or is there something I don't know about the rights?
For Nightmare specifically, or Friday specifically?
Friday.
No, you're right. They've largely come to an agreement to where they could work together or through intermediaries to make something happen if they so choose. So that is largely done with. That doesn't mean that there wouldn't still be issues in terms of what percentage X party gets over Y, and that kind of bullshit would still happen, I'm sure, but that could delay something. But with Nightmare, I don't even know if this is public knowledge yet. I don't know why they haven't announced it, but I got this on a good authority from two people. That lawsuit, I think I told you guys this, the lawsuit the Craven estate was fighting with Warner Brothers for years behind the scenes. They wanted the rights to everything, and Warner Brothers won recently. This was just a couple months ago. Like, it's finally over and done with. It basically told Craven's kids to kick rocks. So, which I'm happy about, because they had the rights for over a decade and they had no intention of ever doing anything with it. So they can kick rocks. If you're not going to get to hold on to that property, if you don't want to do anything for the fans, like, I'm sorry, it's just not going to happen. So we should see something with that soon. I honestly think overall, Lee, I don't think there's really much legal red tape with any of these big three anymore. I think it's a matter of a good pitch, the right studio, and just a willingness to want to do it. Warner Brothers does not seem like they want to do anything with Nightmare, to be honest with you. So I don't know.
Which is crazy to me. I think a lot of these, the major studios, really it's New Line that has Friday and Nightmare, but I don't know. It just seems like they want to focus on the now and the new, and maybe they're a little skittish about bringing back to life these franchises that are over 40 years old. I don't know. Who knows? Let's get some super chats here. Deshaun Chaney, thank you so much. He says, Nick, seeing you with Christian, I agreed with some of the ranking. Mine is what that is. And Alice's fight for worst final girl. Love y'all. Can't wait to join one day. Man, I missed the stream last night. Now, Nick, wasn't it that Brandon, which, by the way, Brandon and I, we used to live in the same town. Like, I before here, I lived in Melbourne. And I lived pretty close to Brandon. Like, I'd see him from time to time. But Brandon was on Christian's channel, and they did a ranking of, I think it was Nightmare and Halloween. Am I right on that, Nick?
Mm-hmm.
So what went down? You jumped in there?
I mean, it was Christian asked me last week if I would come on for it, because he said, and I quote, "I want you to give Brandon hell for his Halloween ranking." And I said, yeah, for sure, I'll be there. And basically, it wasn't us ranking it. It was Brandon gives his ranking, and we react in real time to his ranking. Right. So the idea is to be over the top. And, but I got to be honest, Brandon is a troll. He is one of the finest I've ever met. And you never know if he's being serious or not. Sometimes he is being serious, and it'll blow your mind. But yeah, it was a really fun time. The chat loved it. And I mean, it was bonkers. It really was. I think that was the only time people have ever seen me really like yell, like on YouTube. I don't get that fired up, but Christian told me to beforehand. He's like, I want you to yell. I want you to go at him. I'm like, okay, I'll do it. But it was all for the cameras. I mean, he's, Brandon's a great guy. He's got an interesting ranking.
It's like you guys were all cutting promos for your wrestling career. That's what it felt like there. Oh, yeah. And it felt like Brandon was kind of doing like the Andy Kaufman.
Oh, you little Hulkamaniacs.
Like being the shit stir. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No, he is. He's a supreme shit stir. But you know what? He has reasons for why he likes every movie and puts them where they are. So I'll give him that.
That's all that matters.
I'll give him that.
Yeah. Does he have like some crazy? I saw Christian's short where he's losing it. He's throwing his head. He does the John Campia with the headphones. Fuck, and he's like throwing them down, and he's pissed off because
Lee. He has Halloween 2018 and Halloween Ends ranked behind Resurrection. He says Resurrection's
get the fuck out of here. I'm about to. Holy shit!
That's what I almost
did it, dude. I saw Halloween 2018 with Brandon in the theater pretty much the night it opened. I saw him at the movie. We didn't go together, but I saw him and his lovely wife there, and I was with my lovely wife, and we waved at each other, and we watched the movie, and we were walking out at the exact same time. And I looked over, and I was, I've talked about my experience with Halloween 2018. Oh my God, it's that Randy meme from South Park. But I'm walking out of the theater. I'm looking straight at Brandon. I'm like, Brandon, what'd you think? He goes, didn't like it. I was like, whoa, okay.
No, he hates that movie. But wow. I think the most egregious ranking for the spot on his ranking was he put the original Halloween at number 4. And
holy fuck.
And even Christian has that at number 2. Halloween 3 is his favorite, but he even said, he's like, Brandon, there's universal truths in this world, and there is no way there's 3 Halloween movies better than the original. So yeah.
One of my questions that we're going to get to tonight is there a such thing as a perfect Halloween movie in your mind, in your fan mind, not just in general? We'll get to that. I don't want to crack that egg open just yet. Tony Chappie, he says, question: would you like to have Halloween 3D? It would have been. I think Chappie was talking through his voice text on his phone. I think that's
I think he's asking if we wanted to see Halloween 3D, the one that was written by Todd Farmer and was going to be directed by Patrick Lussier, and they pulled the plug weeks before shooting started. Have you read that script, Lee?
I haven't read it, but I know
it's dog shit. It's dog shit.
Yeah, that's what I'm worried about.
I guess what I would have. Yeah, give me it. Tyler Mane back as Myers.
As much as I love My Bloody Valentine 3D because I know they had a part in that, I like that movie. Oof. It's great, but it doesn't fit in the Halloween universe. So that type of movie, it might come off as it could come off so bad as I'll always know what you did last summer. It could.
But here's the thing, Lee. There was a line in the script, and this is just such a Todd Farmer line. I'll never forget reading Halloween 3D script, and one moment was like, I think it was about a doctor, because Laurie's in a mental hospital in that script. And Scout and Tyler were both going to come back too. So that's why I was like, yeah, I would have totally watched it. But there was a moment where it was like, she walks in about the doctor and it's like, and she's fucking hot. And I was like, the fuck I was like, this would have been so bad. And
what does she got to have, like, fuck me pumps on or something in the scene?
Oh yeah, it would have been a doctor in the mental institution. She would have had like triple D's, like, she'd have come in with her. Yeah, but guess what? I'd have been for it.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah. Just don't have a character run around naked for 5 minutes and then get killed by Michael like they did in the.
Thank you, baby. That's exactly what I'm talking about.
That movie is not very. I mean, in the pantheon of Valentine horror movies, it's not bad. But come on, My Bloody Valentine 3D is not by any means great. Jensen Ackles brings it down a whole letter grade for me. Guy can't act in movies, but
really down.
Yeah, I think he's like a TV actor at best. Like he and David Boreanaz, same kind of thing. Some people are just like better on television, I think, and then put them in a film and something just doesn't seem like it fits. And I don't know. I think that would have brought down and it would have been a jarring change from Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 to go to something that's Todd Farmer and Patrick Lussier. I feel like it would have been a lot more like bubblegummy or something
with
like
his
that.
characters. Yeah, you'd have Rob's characters in that world. I don't know about that.
It'd be weird.
Yeah, that's another thing. Rob Zombie is not I don't know, like a perfect matchup with Patrick Lussier and Todd Farmer.
Yeah.
It just doesn't fit. Davey, have you seen The Crow Wicked Prayer? Speaking of David Boreanaz.
No, I have not.
Wow. Okay. You would swear that there was a little Coke table right beside the camera before you walk into frame. And I guarantee you, David Boreanaz, he probably snorted a line before he walked in front of the camera.
So he does bring some energy, at least, because when I saw Valentine and I reviewed that, I called him David Boring All of Us.
Yeah.
Because it's just nothing going on there.
Oh, they're making him look like the killer. But there's no way he's going to be the killer, right?
How about a movie
he is the killer?
How about a movie that just like ends with the killer reveal? And that's literally how it ends. They're like, all right, now the audience knows and the movie's over. And it's like, what? No like grand reveal, no like speech or like something, like none of the characters know who it is. Like you guys are really confident you're getting a sequel. And here we are 24 years later, nothing.
Remember back
but they'll probably reboot it.
That? Like back in like a lot of like 80s cheap horror movies, there would be the final reveal or whatever. And then as like the lead guy is hugging the girl that he just saved, you start seeing the credits start rolling up the screen.
Yeah.
And some like nice soft music. But we need to get back to that, right?
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah, we need to get back to terrible killer reveals. Thank you. I know what you did last summer. You're picking it up.
Hey, good transition. I know it. We'll talk for like 5 minutes about I know what you did last summer. The requel that just came out. You know what? I'll start with Nick because I think when I saw this movie, the first thing I thought was, I wonder what Davey and Nick think of this. It could go either way. Who knows? You know, I can never read you guys. I can usually read Nick because our tastes are so much alike. But Davey, man, it's a toss up. It could go either freaking way. And so when I came out,
wow, I'm the wild card. All right.
You're the wild card, man. And I like to have a wild card. So I had a feel when Nick posted his thing and it was like, you know, the director understood the assignment. I was like, okay, yeah, he's right. Once again, we agree. So Davey, what was it about the movie that kind of irked you? And was there anything about the movie that you actually liked? Did you like the previous movies? You know, the first two? Let me know. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think the first two are okay. They're just fine. Like they're, you know, like C+. I don't expect much from this franchise. Like I enjoy them for what they are. Love the Helen chase scene and everything from the original. I dig that. This franchise has never been great on dealing with like the killer reveals or anything like that. And really with this movie, I had really low expectations. I was hoping to be pleasantly surprised. It was even worse than I thought it was, or than my expectations had it for me. I enjoyed some of the performances quite a bit, honestly. Like I really liked, the Sui Wonders chick that played Ava. I liked her performance. I really liked Tariq Withers as Teddy. I enjoyed his performance quite a bit. And I think the actors did, you know, pretty much everything they could. I think the big thing for me is the inciting event wasn't different enough, and I honestly felt like these characters weren't as guilty as they were in the 97 film. So I was like, it just seemed like a little weak on that side, on like creating that drama. There was hardly any suspense in this film. There's like no real chase scenes. It seems like as soon as they start to do something, they're sort of like already finished with it. Felt like the kills held back quite a bit. We don't even get to see like the death blow on our first kill. There was one kill in particular. I won't spoil anything, but I was like, okay, we're going to get something awesome. And then they just didn't like follow through. I wanted to feel like those kills and some of the other stuff was updated for the modern era. And I felt like it was kind of stuck in the 90s. And then with one particular kill, a character that we hardly know anything about, you know, the podcaster, I'm like, it sort of gave it away who the identity of, at that point in the movie, it's like a half hour in, and I'm like, all right, well, I kind of know who this is then, wearing the slicker, unfortunately. I thought it was sort of a dead giveaway. And then when you actually get confirmation of that in the third act, I felt like that's when the acting started really to slip. And I was like, oh no, this is bad. I gave it a 1.5 stars out of 5. Yeah.
You know, I think, and I hate to use this as an excuse for any movie, but I think sometimes people will be soft on a movie because the first movie or the first couple of movies didn't really do much for them at all. And I think that's where I was coming in. But I will say, after watching this new movie, when I went back and watched the first two, I was reminded those are effective little thrillers. That's what they feel like to me, thrillers. And when I watch a thriller, I don't necessarily need to see like the greatest kills. I think I just need to see suspense. And so I think those first two movies, it's hard for me to say which one's better after giving them both a fresh watch this weekend. But I do think this new movie, it's at the level of those two, maybe a slight step down. But I knew and you know what? We won't spoil who the killer is, but I'll just say I knew when the reveal happened. Oh boy, this is going to split the audience. If you're a big fan of this franchise, you're going to be probably pissed at that. But because I had no strong ties to the first two movies and to that the character, you know, and I'm giving little hints here. Okay, so guys, just be careful. But I didn't have any strong ties to the character, so I was just kind of sitting back waiting for, as long as there's a good reason for it happening. And there is a scene in this movie where that character walks into this town meeting, reminded me very much of Jaws, and that character tells the town pretty much why what ends up happening happens at the final act of the movie. And you know what? I jumped on board. I thought this actually makes sense, especially after almost 30 years, and the town completely ignoring these deaths and trying to sweep them under the rug. And then there's this new tragedy that happens, and they're once again trying to do the same thing. So this person figures, you know what, fuck this, and then we start getting the kills. So, and I know I might have, like, I'll admit, I probably gave away who the killer is if you do the process of elimination here, but I would think most of my chat probably did watch the movie, but I'm not going to say the name out loud. So, Nick, is that kind of like the reveal of the killer in this movie? Is that sort of what sent you over the edge of liking this movie? Or was it maybe the young cast, like you kind of got on board with them, at least a couple of those characters? What's your thoughts?
The third act actually solidified me liking it. Yeah. And I turned to my brother because he went and saw it with me 20-30 minutes into the movie. And I said, this is going to be the killer. And he was like, nah, they wouldn't do that. I was like,
they wouldn't have the balls.
I was like, watch. And so I was not at all surprised that they did that. But that's what I was having a good enough time throughout the entire movie. I think that the kills, although they did cut away a few too many times for my liking, and that was Sony's decision. That was I don't understand why they did that, but whatever. I felt like the director really, what you could tell she was a fan of the franchise, and she peppered things in there. I also felt like she had fun poking fun at herself and her movie. They call that out a couple times. It's kind of self-referential. I liked it. I don't know if here's my thing is, like, she said like a month ago in an interview that it was a dumb, campy slasher movie. Like she was like, this is what this movie is. So I kind of went into it with that. I've never had the reverence for the first two movies. There's nostalgia there. I grew up with them, but I went back and rewatched both of them last week. And I just was reminded, like, yeah, the first one's solid. And the second one has a lot of really good kills, but the second one is really fucking stupid. Like really stupid. But it's a fun time. So I was just like, I mean, this is not some gold standard, in slasher. Yeah. So like whatever. And I'm sitting here with this new cast and I'm like, I'm actually kind of liking them. Like Madeline Klein as Danica stole the show for me. Like I thought she was great. And I was like, okay, so this new cast is, pretty well likable. The killer definitely seems more imposing. And it was interesting in the last 20 minutes of the movie when you get the first part of the reveal. I'll say that I sat here and thought, you better not be doing a Scream 4 thing right here, because you cannot convince me that this person was doing all this. You can't convince me of that. That's bullshit. And then when the second part of the reveal happens, I'm like, okay, all right, I'm cool with it. And here's the thing too, is like people were talking, there are some performances in this movie that aren't great. One person I think of is Freddie Prinze Jr., but he's never been a great actor ever. No. Like he has always had this, like, he got popular because of his looks. Like he was very attractive in the night. I mean, he still is. And it's like, he's never been a good actor. So like, I feel like he does okay enough. If I had a major gripe with the movie, I wanted a little bit more of the brutality. Sony definitely butchered that, and that kind of pissed me off. I wanted a little bit more of Julie. I just don't think we got enough of her. And that's why I loved the mid-credit scene, because I was like, dude, if we can get this, like, sign me up. But yeah, overall, I had a really good time with it. I really did. I thought it was fun. I don't hold it to the standard that, some people do with this franchise. Some people love it. And, the people that love it, I've noticed a lot of them are not a huge fan of this, because it did some things in the third act of this movie that made them go like, oh, you're kidding me. Like, I had somebody comment on my video, did we watch a different movie? Because I felt as betrayed as when I saw The Last Jedi. And I replied and said, okay, that's just silly. Like that's just over the top and ridiculous. Like, come on.
Yeah, and you always get those type comments. I got a couple of people in there saying, it's ludicrous to say that you preferred this over Scream 5 and 6, just because those movies are so better directed and better script and blah blah blah. And I was just like, bullshit. I'm sorry.
Oh, no.
You're a Scream fanatic, and that's fine. I'm a Halloween fanatic, so I get it. I give a pass to probably bad movies that I'm just, a fanatic about. But let's be real, okay? We're pretty much on the same slice of bread here, all right?
I don't think people can have it both ways, though, Lee. I give pushback on that, because I'm like, so many people bitched and moaned with Scream 5 and 6 of its predictability. It didn't take enough chances.
Yeah.
And then this one comes out, and people are like, oh, they went way too far.
Yeah, they can't do that.
And I'm like, you guys can't have it both ways.
You can't have it both ways.
Yeah, you want them to play it safe and protect the ones you love, or you want them to just say, fuck it, let's go buck wild, and whatever happens, happens. But really, it's these people, a lot of the times you just can't please them. I was really happy with Scream 5 when it came out. And as time has gone on, Scream 5 has I'm just okay with it now. I like it, but I don't love it. I like Scream 6 way better. But yeah, dude, in my opinion, I think I Know What You Did Last Summer is far more enjoyable. I won't say on a technical level or anything it's better, but far more enjoyable for me than Scream 5. Because Scream 5 literally just felt like greatest hits, nostalgia, everyone. Like, aside from the Dewey moment in Scream 5, there was nothing in that movie that surprised me. And even then, it didn't surprise me, because I was like, they're gonna fucking kill Dewey. Like, we all saw it coming.
Yep. I think those movies, I'm not the biggest fan of Scream 5 or 6. They're at the back end of the franchise for me, for sure. But I do think that they handle, like, suspense and like the chase scenes, that kind of the pursuit scenes are a lot more fully realized than they were in this I Know What You Did Last Summer. I really wanted something that there was no like marquee kill, and then there was no marquee like chase sequence a la Helen Shivers from the original film. I think this movie could have been the best in the franchise if it just like went through on modernizing some things. And yeah, I don't know, maybe there is a director's cut that's more brutal, but they did a lot of talking about how this fisherman is super brutal. And I wasn't feeling it. I don't need a Terrifier level kill. But they could have gone a little bit further. This felt barely rated R as far as the gore goes, more so for the language,
I don't know. There is a moment where a hook goes through a neck that I loved, and I loved it too. I wanted to see more of that type of shit, because like, I think the stuff you could do with a hook would be really cool, and they didn't show enough of that.
Well, that's the kill that I was talking about.
Remember when they walk outside and the big screen, they're all screaming because they see the two guys like hoisted up in the air and they're hanging in there in like this weird angle. I was like, that's fucking gnarly. I actually dug that. But the first movie, it's ironic because that movie, it seems like it's constantly forgotten about, but yet it has not one of, but to some people, the greatest chase scene in horror
Mhm.
history. And I
Really
rewatched that
good.
chase scene with Helen Shivers. That scene has 3 kills in it. In one chase scene, it has 3 kills in it. It's shot beautifully. It's just the right amount. There's quite a few different locations in the chase scene. You can see the budget. You can see how hard. Like they must have worked on that chase scene for a week. It's like I can see like most slasher directors. They're like, okay, shit, today we got to do the freaking a kill. How can we knock this out and then move on? But you could tell that that particular scene, man, that was a labor of love, and it
Yeah.
goes. If you look online at greatest chase scenes ever, I just did a random scroll. The first 2 website, like say it was like Screen Junkies or whatever. The first 2 publications I came across, that scene was number 1 for both of them, both lists.
Oh wow.
So yeah, it's pretty damn cool. And
I would personally take Laurie the entire last, like, I think I clocked it as a teenager, 17 minutes of Halloween, where from the moment she walks in the bedroom and sees the body staged, I feel like that's my favorite like chase scene in a horror movie. But dude, Helen Shivers is definitely up there. That's iconic. That is the best moment of that movie. I actually think that's when the movie peaks.
Yep.
This might be like an unpopular opinion, but I never really cared all that much for the finale on the boat. I always kind of felt like that was
I always forget about it.
Yeah.
This whole franchise doesn't know how to deal with the finales. It has a really tough time.
Hey, Scream has that problem a lot of the time,
it
too.
Sure does. It sure does. Let me get Chappie's super chat real quick. Trouble Production, you would have to be on set for Wes Craven's Cursed or The Island of Dr. Moreau. Well, I mean, I know a lot about The Island of Dr. Moreau. They even made like a documentary about the troubled production that movie was. I've heard tell of Cursed and the behind the scenes, but I'm not a big enough fan of that movie, or that movie's not as infamous enough for me to really care, I guess. But yeah, I don't think any troubled production will ever top The Island of Dr. Moreau. Like that, the director getting fired and then another director coming in, and that's always a bad thing anyway in the middle of a production when a new director comes in and he's got to like wrangle everybody in. And most of the time, everybody's kind of still on the side of the artist, the first director. So yeah, that's got to be Island of Dr. Moreau. Do you guys know about that whole ordeal? The movie's fucking whack. It's weird.
I don't know as much about that as I do with Curse, because I think with Curse they replaced a whole bunch, like half of the cast, and had to like reshoot most of the movie or something like that. Isn't that what happened with Cursed?
You're probably right. I haven't read up enough on it. I just knew that there was some shit going on behind the scenes.
Yeah, I saw Skeet Ulrich was on the Michael Rosenbaum Inside of You podcast and was talking about it, and if I remember the conversation correctly, it's that about halfway through shooting they replaced people and then had to reshoot a whole bunch of stuff, and it just kind of changed the whole makeup of the movie.
Oh, okay. You know what? I think it's time to jump into Halloween. Damn it! Let me pull up my little list. Because I don't want to. Because we can. You know how we three get. We start talking, man. We can't stop.
Yeah.
You know what? Let's start with the top 3 moments of the franchise. And chat, let me know your top 3 moments as well. I like for my chat to get interactive and play along here. Top 3 moments of the franchise, and I guess we can all like give one each and just kind of go around. I'll start because I know one of you guys is going to pick it. The fireman scene from Halloween Kills. That's why I sported my Halloween Kills shirt today. It's got the fireman scene right on it. That scene is it's fucking legendary. Seeing Myers walk out in slow motion with the rain coming down on him out of a burning building. I don't think you could make any slasher killer look more iconic than what that scene did. And then to double down and him come out and just slay and just destroy all these firemen and just kicking major ass. Love the music that's in the background of that scene. I think people that, I think there's people out there that hate Halloween Kills, but even they have to stop themselves with the fireman scene. You can't that scene, like you can not say that scene's badass. It's just amazing. It's just amazing. So I'll start with that, and I'll roll it around to Nick. Nick, what is your one of your favorite moments from the franchise?
I'll get your. I'll follow along with you. I'll pick a moment from Halloween Kills, but not that one. A moment that actually legitimately made my jaw drop in the theater. The sequence in the Myers house with Cameron and Allison.
Fuck
and
yes.
I was sitting in the theater when he was beating the shit out of Cameron, and I was like, "Oh my god!" Like the sound design was crazy. And then when he's halfway down the steps. And just to be a dick,
just to be a dick,
yeah, just to be a dick is like, oh, hold on, let me kill your boyfriend first. I was like,
wow,
holy shit, dude. Now,
dude,
all the momentum of that scene gets taken away when Judy Greer's standing in the street, like, yeah, just like Judith or whatever the fuck her stupid monologue. I'm like, just shut up. But like that shit, brutal. Love that moment.
Oh my God. I gotta mention that moment too, because I remember sitting in the theater. That whole final act is what sealed the deal for me. I think Kills has one of the best final acts. Myers going out. I think he purposefully let the mob beat it. Go ahead, take your first lick. Let's see what you got, And then he gets up and just freaking slays everybody. Yeah,
that would have been one of the best moments in the series had they not had to reshoot it on a soundstage. And I hate the way it's shot because they were on a soundstage. It had to be really close and tight. So it's just, here's a hand, here's a gun, and I'm like, God damn it. Like if this could have been from a distance, seeing Michael just destroy these motherfuckers in the street, I would have been like, oh yeah.
Oh my God. All right, Dave. I wanted to talk more about that scene. That scene is so badass with freaking Cameron. Like, I think Cameron got the most battle damage of any. Am I wrong here? Is he the one victim that got the most battle? Like, he was probably paralyzed or crippled before he finally died. He was just totally fucked up. Whereas most people, they get it quick from Myers and then he moves on. They get a freaking shotgun through the stomach. Man, Cameron, dude, that dude suffered.
Dude, and the track over that unkillable while that unkillable's playing while that's happening, and it's just like, holy shit. Like, I have a lot of problems with Halloween Kills, but like you cannot say there's not some high highs in that movie, because there is.
Okay, Dave. Yeah, it's your shot. Go for it.
Yeah, just to talk about the Cameron thing really quick, I love it because you're, by the end of the first movie, you hate this guy. He's got a nice redemptive arc in Kills. So seeing him really get like the torture treatment. Yeah. And Michael doesn't usually play with his victim.
We lost Davey.
That long.
Yeah, we lost him.
That was great. I did have, the three that I put together because we were going to talk about the David Gordon Green trilogy, and I'm such a big fan.
Okay.
Oh, am I there?
Yeah, you're there.
Hello, am I there? Am I gone?
Nope. Good.
So, because we're going to talk about David Gordon trilogy, and they're all in my top 5 of the franchise, I was actually my 3 moments were all going to be from that trilogy. So I had picked out the fireman one, but since we already talked about that, I love the fire with the water. Like there's something about that juxtaposition and everything, like wet Michael, even though the house is burning behind him. Look, and I saw somebody mention in that scene in the house is super brutal with what's her face, the 2 folks that live in the cemetery, or she works at the cemetery there. I love that. There's something about that. Kind of that weird childlike wonderment that Michael holds on to, like creating a piece of art just by stabbing a bunch of knives there. Great Michael Myers moment in there. But yeah, I mean, for me, if I had to pick one from Kills, it would have been the firefighter scene. Is just so badass. There's it's really cool to actually see Michael go through the whole process, in that scene. So big fan of that one. That would be one of my favorite moments in the franchise for sure.
I'm going to go with Alley Girl here for my next pick. The ending of Halloween 2 when Loomis lights the fire. Just because I think, and by the way, we were talking about iconic chase scenes. I think out of the Halloween franchise, the chase scene in Halloween 2 It's up there, and it might be a favorite for some people. And I think it was probably a favorite of mine for the longest time, just because I think the music's, you got the red room when it starts, and Laurie, she comes out of her like comatose or whatever, and she sees Myers like walking towards her, and then you got that scene is just iconic. But then where it ends up, and I think this is what makes Loomis Loomis. This particular scene right here, if you weren't sold on Loomis yet, this is the scene that sent you over the edge. And Loomis became an icon when he gave his life for Laurie. He lights the match and he says, "It's time, Michael." He knew that the only way I'm going to be able to kill him is if I take my own life in this particular moment here. And so that's what he does. He's get out now. And she runs out, and that scene where she's running out and you see the freaking explosion and everything. Here's another scene with fire. I don't know what it is about fire in this franchise, but yeah, that scene is so freaking badass. Love it to death. So, Nick, I'll go to your next one.
All right, I'm going to cheat here because like I can't not mention both of these, but I have an all-time favorite scene in the series, so that I'll save that for my next round. But I'm going to double dip here. Same movie, so whatever, screw it. The kill of Octavia Spencer in Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 is probably my favorite kill in the entire Halloween franchise. I love the way that's shot. I love the way Michael looks, just kind of lumbering over her and just picking her up slowly, and then going to town.
Oh yeah,
and leaving the knife in the head was a nice touch too, a knife touch. And I'm also going to say Annie's death in Halloween 2, and specifically when Laurie and her are talking and she's holding her and she dies, and then Laurie kind of has that moment to herself where she realizes her best friend is dead in her arms and stuff. Like, still watching that scene, I've probably seen the movie 100 times. It still gets to me because I'm like, God, dude, like, because you just think about like friendships you've had throughout your life that maybe you guys have become estranged a little bit, but there's so much love there for each other. And like, if that was your friend and you were in that moment, like all that you'd feel guilty about, all that was left unsaid, like, and then honestly, Laurie feeling like it's all her fault. Like this is all her fault that she brought this on Annie. Just a really, really powerful scene. Some of the best acting in the franchise is Laurie and Annie's moment there and Brackett finding Annie. It's incredible.
Yeah, I think if you like Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, it's the one movie that it grabs you and takes you on for the ride. So by the time you get to a scene like that, you're fully on board because you're just so locked in. It's not one of those movies, at least for me anyway, where I throw it on in the background and I'm just kind of like, okay, I'm good. I can't help but put down the phone, put down whatever I'm doing, and just get locked into this movie because the scenes just really, you get really invested in where Laurie Strode is. That's the one movie where Scout Taylor Compton, when she looks back on her career in Halloween, I think she should be the most proud of Rob Zombie's Halloween 2.
100%. She didn't get anything to do in the first one. She was just trying to be like a typical teenage girl. Love or hate Halloween 2, you have to admit that like Scout really did have a chance in that movie to kind of spread her wings and make her, Laurie Strode, something very unique and different. And I respect the hell out of that at the very least.
Yeah. Davey, let's hear your next one.
Yeah, so my next one, I'm going to go to everyone's favorite, Halloween Ends. I love the Corey kill rampage. Everything that happens at the junkyard, at the scrap yard, and then going into the radio station. There's something about, like, to me, he is the Shape at that point in the movie. And I love that they put somebody else in the suit behind the mask and everything like that. And there are some shots there. There's that really great shot during the junkyard scene where he's got the collar popped. It looks very much like Dick Warlock looked in the original Halloween 2. So I like that. And then, just everything kind of, especially during the radio scene, kind of seeing him in the background, taking out the receptionist before he goes in to take out the DJ. And I'm sitting there watching it and I'm like, this is Michael. Like, it feels like Michael. And it was just one of those moments where I was like, yes, I know, of course people bitch that it isn't actually Michael, but for all intents and purposes, for me, it feels like it, and one of the strongest moments in the franchise for sure.
I had to highlight Gold Standard. Remember, like I think a couple streams ago, I was telling you guys there's this guy in my comments, and it doesn't matter what I'm reviewing, nothing that has anything to do with Halloween, and he'll post in there something to dig at the DGG trilogy. He just hates it, like it lives rent free in his head. Like he just hates it so much, and I love him for that. I think people, you have certain I don't know if you. I mean, you can call it trolls, sort of. And I don't mean that in a negative way towards Gold Standard, because I just think he likes to troll the DGG trilogy. I think that brings him happiness. Some people, it brings them happiness to shit on something that they hate so much, and they need to put it out there into the world. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I put it out to the world that I hate the Crow Wicked Prayer all the time, and probably a few Prom Night remake. Yeah, I can't wait for a chance to just completely shit, like diarrhea shit, all over the Prom Night remake every chance I get. So
that's right.
Yeah, that's
Lee. Talk about trolls. You should have seen the chat last night when Christian brought me on the panel. There was 2 separate people. As soon as I was revealed to be on the panel, they're like, "Oh no, I don't want to hear Nick talk about Halloween Ends." Nope. Like we're so I made a conscious decision. I was like, all right, I'm really not going to do it. Y'all don't want to hear it. I'm not going to do it. Like, no, they're out there.
Oh,
buddy.
good. My last pick, would have to be the end of Halloween 4, when this was pretty much the scene that hooked. I mean, like freaking changed my life. Really, if you think about it, it changed my life as a movie fan. It made me the Halloween fan that I am today, and it literally scared the fuck out of me when Loomis is coming up the stairs. You're thinking we're done with this nightmare. It's over. We can tie everything up and have the credits, and then you see that mask come on. And I'm not gonna lie, when I saw this in the theater, I thought that was Myers at first. I thought somehow he had come back and he was in the house. And then so they got me, because when you hear Loomis's reaction and then the camera shows Jamie Lloyd, in the clown costume holding up the knife. Oh my God. And I don't think I was alone, because everybody in the theater, you could hear just this collective gasp, like, oh my God, it's come full circle. It's started all over again. And they could have literally ended the franchise at that exact moment, and it would have been perfection.
Say it. Chill bumps. Say it.
Chill bumps. Yeah, dude. That is the ultimate chill bump moment in the franchise, when they're able to not only wow you, surprise you, but also scare you. That, because we don't get scared by much, but that scene got me. It could have been maybe my age at the time. I was 15, but even at that time, there wasn't much that scared me. But man, and I think sometimes we get scared by surprise. At least for me, as an adult, or a late teen, if something scared me, it was because it surprised me. It caught me off guard. It wasn't just something that I was like, oh God, something's going to come here and I'm going to see it and then I'm going to get. No, it was always like I'm looking left and then they throw me right. And that's what happened with that scene. It just, oh my God. And I think that's why I get nightmares. I don't now, but at a certain age in my life, I used to get nightmares about Michael Myers. No other killer, no Jason, no Freddy, just Michael Myers. I don't know why, but it just happened. You can't control what you dream about, but I think it's because I just thought about him so much in my everyday life. It's a little to a weird level. I used to think about Myers every day, and I would come up with these Myers movie like moments in my head that I'm kind of conjuring up myself. Like I used to have this idea of Myers at a carnival chasing Jamie Lloyd. I don't know why. It was just something. And so I would have dreams about Myers chasing Jamie Lloyd in a carnival setting. So, yeah. So that's my last pick. Nick, what's your last pick?
I just want to say, when I was a kid, I used to play with toys and like make new Halloween movies, like with the toys. Like I would like pretend like I was making a movie with my action figures. But no, so I just kind of want to like I want to put all you guys in like a frame of mind for a second. Like I want you to think about, because this is my favorite sequence in the entire series, probably my favorite horror sequence, period. Not even probably, it definitely is. You're a kid, you're preteen, early teenager. It's Halloween night, you've already trick-or-treated and you're at home and John Carpenter's Halloween is on AMC Fear Fest, and it gets to the moment where, you know, it's that time of night too, like Halloween night, where it's creepiest. Like the trick-or-treaters are done. And it's, I don't know, there's just this vibe in the air. And you're sitting there watching that movie, and the moment that Laurie says goodnight to the kids, and then the next thing you know, she's on the outside of the door and she's locking it to go across the street, and Laurie's theme starts playing.
Yeah.
From that moment forward to the end of that movie is my favorite sequence in the entire Halloween franchise, because it feels so much like the end of Halloween night as I remember as a kid. Like you're in bed, it's really quiet, nobody's around. It feels just ghostly. Like she walks in this house, she sees her friend's bodies staged for her because Michael's a dick, and then he just pops out of the black and stabs her. And then it's a chase. And I mean, I remember just being a kid, and when she's banging on the door and she's like, open the door, open the door. And he's just coming across the street, and you're like, fuck, no, Tommy. And he's such an asshole. He's up there and he's like, who is it? And he's like, yeah, okay. Like, dude, weren't you crying all night about the boogeyman? And you got your babysitter out here like, open the door, motherfucker. And you're just like, whatever.
Show some urgency, Tommy.
I know, but my God, like that sequence, that entire sequence is just like, there's suspense, there's atmosphere, it's the moment in the movie where Jamie Lee Curtis, I think that's what made Jamie Lee Curtis. Like everything else up to that point in the movie, she's very milquetoast, very bland. She doesn't get a lot to do. But when it's time for her to scream and run and you know, fight back, it's like, oh shit, okay, this chick might actually have the goods. And it's just my favorite sequence in horror. Just incredible.
It might be one of the reasons why we all love the first Halloween so much, because there's just an undercurrent. And I've stated this probably 100 times before, but there's just an undercurrent of that movie that I don't even know if it was planned by Carpenter. Like, how do you create that? There's something that doesn't, like, you can't physically see. It's just there.
You don't. That just comes from genius. You have it. You have it or you don't. And that guy has it. Like
he has it because he's done it multiple times. And like even the first Halloween is separated from the rest of the franchise because Carpenter directed it. And so it definitely has that Carpenter stamp. I think there's a little bit of that in Halloween 2 and 3 even, but because Carpenter was involved. And so maybe just his DNA gets on whatever project he's a part of. Which makes me think Halloween, the David Gordon Green trilogy, I didn't feel a Carpenter vibe to it. I think he's just in the background collecting his check. But when he actually, and maybe it was a time frame thing too, when he was, you know, younger in years and he was just at the top of his game. But man, he gave us the ultimate gift of Halloween. It's so good that they probably get sick of it because everybody talks about Halloween. And I think every year it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger because you can't help but throw it on during October.
It's my last watch on Halloween night.
You have to.
The last couple years, it's been A Nightmare on Elm Street. After my son gets done trick-or-treating and he goes to bed, I watch A Nightmare on Elm Street, I watch Trick or Treat, and then I watch Halloween. And that's 4.5 hours of movies. And I don't give a shit if I have to work the next day. I do it every year. And I end my night with Halloween, always.
Yeah, my tradition is usually October 1st and October 31st. I bookend the month with Halloween. I don't achieve that every year, but that's usually my goal. I like to start off the month and end the month with Halloween. And the experience is a little bit different both times. None worse, none better. It's like, let's kick off the month with something that's just really creepy and feels like an old friend. And then let's end the month on a high note with something that just kind of it still puts a chill down my spine when I watch Halloween. It's the one movie where you put it on, if you close your eyes and you hit play, and the first thing you hear is that theme. And when you hear that theme, there's a chill that just runs down your spine, and there will never be another score in the franchise as good as the first one. Because
you get those You get those 16th notes on the hi-hat to kick everything off. It's a nice little it feels like this whole experience. And I was going to say what Richard had said there in the chat a little ways up, when you guys are talking about the final, especially the suspense in the final act there. I think Dean Cundy's cinematography is a huge part of giving the original Halloween a feel that is just something totally different. So it's the genius of Carpenter, of course, and the music and everything like that. But I really do think the way the decisions they made behind the camera or with the camera really build that suspense in the final act. And I mean, it's the blueprint for pretty much every, slasher movie moving forward. They all wanted to try to get some sort of magic like that with a chase scene. So, and I do think that, Cundy's camera work is what makes Halloween just looks so much more cinematic than like the original Friday the 13th films or even A Nightmare on Elm Street. It's not like those movies are poor. There's just something that's like technically more elevated in a movie like Halloween.
Yeah, there's a lot of movement in the camera. Not in every scene. It stays stationary when it needs to, but I do notice that when I watch the movie, there is a lot of moments where the camera's just like slowly moving in certain directions, and I think just that movement adds another layer of creepiness to it. Let me get this super chat, and then Davey, I'll get did I get your final favorite moment?
No, not yet.
Okay, so let me get this super chat, and then we'll get your final moment. So, W final guy, Loomis saved her twice in one night. I think he's which movie did Loomis? Probably 2 or
Halloween 2.
Maybe.
Well, does 1 and 2 take place on the same night? So he saved her twice.
Oh yeah, I guess you're right. So yeah, all right. Davey, what's your last one?
My last one, just sticking with that DGG love. Sorry, Gold Standard. The quote unquote one shot. I know there's some cuts in there, but it is the most. I know I've said this before. It's the most interesting Michael has ever been to me since the very first film. In that shot, there's something like I'm just sucked in. I'm so curious with what his thought process is, if he even has one, or if he's just sort of like guided by random inspiration. There's just something so great about the music and, again, the way they use the camera, the lighting when Michael walks up to the window and crouches down and you see the reflection of him in the window. I love when Michael looks different depending on how the light hits him. I love the way they have the light there when he walks in between the houses and you see that shadow is just like as tall as the house next to him. There's just something so visually stunning and gripping about that. And then the camera just kind of sits right there as the live action continues and Michael goes into the house, kills the woman. Just, that whole sequence there. There's just something about it where I really did sit up and get to the edge of my seat and never have been more interested in Michael. I just, one of the greatest moments in the franchise for me.
I'm going to cheat a little bit here because you got me thinking about Halloween 2018, and there are some really great moments in that movie.
Yeah.
And I would say the opening right before the titles, when you got Aaron walking up to the courtyard, and man, this particular moment with Myers, I always wanted Myers to be back in Smith's Grove. There's just something really creepy to me about Myers in Smith's Grove. I don't know why. But him just standing there, not saying a freaking word, but you feel the danger because they have the freaking square around him and they try to keep everybody at a distance away from him. And then you see Aaron, and I got to give David Gordon Green credit directing wise, when to put the close ups, when to kind of show you a wide shot. And when he holds that mask out, and you just see like almost like a blurred look of the mask with Aaron in the background, and then it kind of like focuses on the mask. You feel Myers' rage at that moment. Like he makes that fist like, oh, fuck, it's go time. And just the idea of a guy sitting in Smith's Grove for 40 years. Like you think back to Loomis saying, sitting in a room, waiting, inhumanly patient. And they pretty much showcased that in that one scene. This guy waited 40 years for this night. He knew it was coming. And then as soon as that freaking say something, and then the music comes, I was like, I remember, dude, I'm sitting in the theater, and when he says say something, and that music come, I was just like, oh my God. It was just like such a great freaking moment. So I
It's
had to
this
choose.
awesome build. It's this amazing
Yeah.
crescendo of like the way they edit it and the way the music goes, and just there is a lot of tension built up there for sure.
So yeah, guys, there's so many amazing moments in this franchise, and we probably just scratched the surface with how many of them there are. But I mean, we could do a full stream on just amazing moments, and you want
Yeah.
to talk about each moment for so long. Joaquin, he says, I watched the ending scene from Halloween 4 recently, and it still gives me chills. Epic. The original Halloween is still one of my favorites. Could not agree more, good sir. Could not agree more. Um, let's move on to the next topic. I guess we could ease into the David Gordon Green trilogy. I think the reason I put this on here as a topic is because reflecting back, looking back on this trilogy, and man, just thinking back on it, just from a YouTube standpoint, it was like a freaking whirlwind. I remember, and I don't know, it's felt like drama just came with this trilogy. There was a lot of love, there was a lot of hate, there was a lot of I don't know what the word is, but man, I think it was just the excitement of this franchise coming back, and people love Halloween. We've all watched the Halloween 25 Years of Terror doc, and they talk about this. And that doc came out way, way, way before the David Gordon Green trilogy, but the fan base for this franchise, I'm not even going to say almost, it gets to toxic levels. It really does, because of the passion that people feel for this franchise. And it's like a powder keg. If you throw that in a current age with social media and, um, people deal in absolutes in social media. Everybody's opinion is just freaking amplified. I think about before social media, we didn't really have this kind of drama with not just Halloween, but like even like really Star Wars. Even Star Wars was 10% of what it is now. Um, looking back, Nick, do you think, what if David Gordon Green's trilogy came out before the social media age? Do you think it would have fared better or worse or different? And that's kind of a question that just kind of came to me now. Like, what would be the result or even the fallout of this coming out, say, in the early 2000s?
Well, I mean, I think you wouldn't have heard as much about the disdain that people had for it, just because like now our lives are literally at our fingertips and we push them in everybody's faces.
Everything's so immediate.
Yeah, but back in those days, we had message boards. So, and
Yep.
I was on them. So I remember you still knew when people hated something. So you still would have heard of it. But yeah, I definitely think in this day and age, the wildfire that can spread on social media impacts a lot of these movies for better or worse. And it's I don't think overall it would have changed all that much, because I think some of the decisions that they made, they were bound to split people down the middle. I've reached
Especially
a
with
point
Ennis.
where, and I've reached a point where it's like I don't try to convince people of my opinion on these movies of like, hey, they're good, you're wrong. Like, no, they're good to me. I like the decisions that they made for the most part, but I totally see everybody's valid criticisms with them. And, I'm glad they exist. If for nothing else, it was the return of Michael Myers. And I'd missed the guy. Let's just be honest. But honestly, man, I think that no matter what, if this was the story that they were going to tell, it could have come out in the 80s. It could have come out in 2000. It could have come out in 2020. It was going to be a lightning rod for conversation. Now, whether that conversation happened at the coffee shop, in the message boards, or on Twitter, I think it's all the same. My mom told me back in 82 when Halloween 3 came out, the word got around quick in school. She was in high school, and people were like, oh, doesn't have Michael Myers. It's all dog shit. Like, don't go see it. So like, it still would have gotten out there, I think.
Yeah, I think, and I'm highlighting Jason's think about message boards, because I used to go on the official Halloween message board probably like 20 years ago. I'm still
Same,
an
brother.
Actually, I don't think it's around anymore, but
It's
I
not
was an
around
active member.
anymore.
Yeah, it's gone. And that's where I got my Halloween updates, back in the early 2000s. And I would check that thing every day, and I would see varied opinions on the movies, and some of them saying that they hated a certain movie and whatnot, but you rarely saw people getting to arguments on there. So I think the difference between message boards back then and what's going on now is that you can post something on Twitter or X, and that thing can explode, and you could see like 1,000 likes. I've seen some of your posts on there, Nick, get like a freaking 1,000 likes, and it turns into a firestorm.
Oh, dude,
And
I
then
had one get like 300,000 in the
yeah,
midst of the
shit,
whole
man.
Melissa Barrera shit on
Yeah,
stream. I had tweeted something about it, and I had it pinned on my profile for the longest time because it took off. It went viral, and I was like, oh fuck. But the problem with that is I don't like it because your phone blows up. And even if you turn your notifications off, you get on that app just to scroll. And like so many people have responded, people you don't know, and they're like attacking you personally and shit. And you're like, I don't even know you. Like, what? Like, this is so weird. So yeah, double-edged sword for sure.
Yeah, you don't get that on, or at least I don't remember message boards being that toxic. And it gets unhealthy these days, and there's not much you can do about it. It is what it is. People get passionate about things, and sometimes I think maybe social media. And I saw some of the comments in there. It is a double-edged sword. I think social media can do great things for any movie. If a post, like Nick was saying there, if a post takes off, that's instant advertising, and it does all the work for the studio. They don't even have to like promote the movie as much, because all of a sudden everybody's seeing this thing in front of them. And if it's the right post, then people might be persuaded to, hey, maybe I should go check this movie out. Whereas message boards never really had that kind of power. Let me get
you had to
Go
you
ahead,
had to
Dave.
care a lot more for the message boards because you had to sit there and actively check. So it was a smaller audience. It was like way more niche. But now everyone does have a platform, whether it's a YouTube channel or just their Twitter account that is, I see people that have, really successful Twitter accounts. And yeah, nuanced opinion that's not what people are looking for on social media. They want the one side or the other, this extreme or that extreme. So it doesn't surprise me at all. I think the DGG trilogy would have been, we wouldn't have heard as much negative stuff about it, if it were made 20 or 30 years ago. But I also think that, if the pandemic hadn't happened, we probably would have gotten a more like cohesive story. They wouldn't have gone back and played with some things. I still really like the movies that we got, but I do think that there was probably something, that would have made a little more sense for a lot more people if the timeline of production didn't get disrupted the way that it did.
Yeah. You know what? Let me go to, because I did post a question. I have two monitors now, by the way, guys. That's what I'm looking up. But
he's
really
fancy.
nice.
He's fancy.
Yeah. I'm all fancy now. But so let me see if I can share this. Hold on. Let me go share screen. Oh, it's because I rebooted the page. That's why. Okay. Let's go there. Share. Okay. So now you guys can see this. We'll go through a few of these. Nicholas Vincent, he says, how Busta never gets his due for defeating Myers on how those two band geeks in ends would have for sure easily killed him. I don't know about that. How Bob Clark is proud of Carpenter for taking his idea for Black Christmas 2 and made it his own. Woo! There's a lot to unpack there. I think people just didn't take Busta Rhymes seriously. If I'm being honest, I don't think he was meant to be taken seriously.
He didn't take himself seriously.
He didn't. And I think, do you really want to, get into an argument about whether Busta Rhymes would have beat Michael Myers? For me, as soon as that scene happened, I checked out. I'm done. I'm fucking done with this. What are we doing? People get mad about Halloween Ends, but that flies. I don't know. I don't, and I'll even say Bust is probably he's entertaining, but I'm not watching a Halloween movie at that point. I'm watching something different. So that's where that lies. And then I don't think it's stated that Band Geek. I think he's talking about because Corey takes Myers' mask, if I'm guessing. But I've defended this scene a million times, and I think even people that know what it really means, they still just love to shit on it because the idea of Corey Cunningham taking Myers' mask. But it's not Corey, it's the evil taking Myers' mask. The evil has taken over. The evil's taken over Corey fully at this point. And Myers has been depleted quite a bit. So it's not like a full, leveled up, 10-tier Myers against a high school kid. No, it's not that at all. It's evil in a young body taking over a depleted old man that is at the end of his life. That's what that is. But
even with that, just to play devil's advocate, like in Halloween Ends, he does take on the Band Geeks eventually, literally kills all of them. So it's not that Corey couldn't have. One, Paul Brad Logan, one of the co-writers, said that he wrote that based off of an experience he had in high school, that he was bullied by some of the band kids. And like some people are like, oh, band kids being bullies. Dude, some of the band kids were assholes. Like, I don't know where you went to school, but furthermore, it's like, it's not that Corey couldn't have. It's like, dude, he had this moniker that he was a child killer. Like, and he was an adult. The last thing he's going to do is kick the shit out of a couple minors after everybody already thinks he killed someone, a child, no less. So like, to me, it made total sense why he's not doing anything to these kids. Like, why would you? If I were out in public tomorrow and some 16-year-old was talking shit to me, guess what I'm not going to do? Punch him in the face. Because that's a felony, and I'll go to jail.
You got to think that through.
Yeah, I mean, but later on, Corey, he killed them all. Like, it's not that he couldn't have. So I don't know.
Yeah, people pick and choose things about movies they hate. I think
the whole town is bullying Corey. I mean, that's what we get. Like, he's crossing the street on his bike, and people don't stop for him. Like, and you get the idea they're not stopping because it's him. It's very it seems very pointed. So it seems like he is just mentally beaten down and doesn't really have any fight in him.
I got to make a plea to my audience or anybody that is kind of on the fence with ends. The people that fully hate ends, I'm not going to be able to steer them. But the people that are kind of on the fence with ends, they're like, I kind of like this, but there's a few things they really need to flesh out. Read the novelization. I beg you to read the novelization. I've read it. Oh my God. You can never make a book, like the full version of a book into a movie. It would just be too long. But man, if you are somewhat almost there, read that novelization because they really cover a lot of ground. And more than anything, you get a sense of who Corey is as a character. Like, I think they only scratched the surface just enough to give you the idea of what's going on with Corey headspace wise. But if you read the novelization, you know fully why Corey is who he is and what has led him down this road. And I think you would probably appreciate ends a lot more because I love the novelization. Let me get the super chat real quick regarding the deleted skeleton scene in Ends. Who wants to guess how many people Michael disappeared between kills and ends? A dozen, maybe. I think he's talking about like the death toll in both movies. Well, I mean, in kills alone,
I always got the impression he didn't kill anyone in the intermediary. Like, they're not explicit about that, and maybe the novelization is more. But which I have the novel and I haven't touched it.
Dude,
but
you need to.
I'm going to now. But like, I just always got the impression he hadn't. Like, that was just, in my opinion, I was like, it just seems like he didn't kill anyone, and he just kind of was like rotting.
I think we're led to believe because we see the billboard for like the missing woman. We hear about missing people. Even the homeless guy under the bridge grabs Corey and is like, the other people that go in there don't come out. Yeah, so you get the idea that this might sound wild to say, like, you get the idea that maybe he's even like cannibalizing these people because what else is he doing down there if he's not really going out and about? But yeah, you get the idea that there are some people that have gone missing and it's because of Michael.
I haven't watched that movie since last October, guys, so forgive me, but yes, you're right. I'm like totally remembering it now, and I'm like, fuck, yeah, they did mention that.
The one reason,
but I think Lee, to say one more thing about you imploring your audience. I think if you've only seen Halloween Ends once and you didn't like it, but you're a fan of the franchise, I think as a fan of the franchise, you owe it to yourself, not to the movie, not to the filmmakers. You owe it to yourself to give it another shot, because I think that you will see something in the movie. Something will click on subsequent viewings, and to only have seen it once and hate the movie. I don't know. It seems like a lot of people that I know, at least in my circle, that hate it have only given it one try.
Yeah, and why is that? And it's because they watched it one time. It was not what they expected and or wanted, and they have this vehement disgust for it because they just remember that experience and they're like, fuck that movie. And I've had that experience with movies before, and I always give them a second chance. And if it's better the next time when I know what to expect, great. If not, then I was fair. I gave it another chance, knowing what I was getting myself into, and it just wasn't for me. Yeah, I mean, film. There's so much in a film, let alone an hour and 45-minute movie. Like, if you watched it one time, and one major decision they made is just where you're like, I'm done, I'm out, fuck this movie, never watching it again. I think you're doing yourself a disservice, and really any film a disservice doing that personally.
Nick, let me give you a little nugget. Okay, in the novelization, there's a lot of a lot of speculation that people have that haven't read the novelization about how Myers ended up in that sewer, how he ended up with the limp, and really how he ended up in such bad shape. The novelization explains that whole thing from start to finish, from the very end of Kills all the way to how he ends up in the sewer. And there's a really cool moment. Remember in Halloween 2018 when Allison, she caught Cameron, this girl in like a tiger getup, kissing Cameron, right? That girl is the reason Myers ended up with the limp, because when he's leaving from Kills, she intercepts him and there's a big showdown. He chases her and she literally stabs him in the leg. And so there's a big thing, big fight between the two of them, and he kills her. And but that stab in the leg, she struck like a main artery or something like that. And that's the start of what sent Myers down that road, living in the sewers, and because he couldn't stay in his house anymore. And so there's a lot of moments like that. But like I said, the Corey stuff is just really, really great. I think if you're a fan of Ends, you don't need to read it, because I think the movie gives you everything you need. But also, if you're a fan of Ends, I think it just gives you that much more of the movie. The story, I guess. So, going through these questions, I can give you one more here. Let's see. A Cobwebs channel, Daniel, he says, defend the cult of Thorn. That should be a fun one. I mean, for me, it's now. Let me ask you guys this. I guess this is a good way to start this discussion out, because there are some people that don't consider Part 4 cult like part of the Thorn trilogy, but it has to be, because that is a trilogy. The reason I always say it's a part of it, even though they don't really mention it, is because you have characters that carry through starting from 4 all the way to the end of 6. So any trilogy, there's always revelation. Like Return of the Jedi has things that we never knew from A New Hope. So the idea that you have to literally mention Cult of Thorn in a movie for it to count is ludicrous. I think the story follows through all the way through. So I love Cult of Thorn. I'm a Thorn head. If I don't have any tattoos, but if I did get any, one of the first would probably be the. That's how serious I am. I love the Thorn. I'd probably get a Thorn tattoo, and I've seen a lot of people get the Thorn tattoo, but yeah, that's how much you love a property when you want to get a tattoo from it. And I don't know, I just like the mystery of that whole thing. Yeah, it wasn't fully fleshed out and realized, but to me, that's kind of part of what made it special, is because you can kind of form your own little conclusions. Maybe even like the very end of Part 6, you can kind of form in your head what that whole exchange was between Loomis and Myers. I'm not talking about producer's cut. I'm talking about theatrical cut. We didn't know about the producer's cut until years after. So, Davey, what's your thoughts? I mean, like, are you a fan of all three movies in the Cult of Thorn trilogy?
I mean, I think I might like 6 the most out of all of them. I might be like a curse guy out of those 3. And yeah, I mean, it's like, it's one of those things that like we've attributed, right? Like no one else officially calls it the Thorn trilogy. It's just a way that the fans sort of talk about that group of movies together. And we kind of, I think it's good that we have a way to compartmentalize all of that. But yeah, I mean, even though I'm not the hugest fan of everything that like 5 has to offer, there are some moments in there that really do work for me. And I think Dominic Othen and Gerard, that whole like pre JJ Abrams mystery box kind of thing, he doesn't really have any answers. Like he doesn't even have them like in his own head canon. He's just like, well, I'm just going to do something mysterious for the sake of making it mysterious. So it's like with Curse, they're trying their best to like tie it all together. But I'm a fan of those movies. I think 4 for me is rough because I don't really like the way that Michael looks, and I feel like the movie is just kind of like a soft reboot. So I guess I got to give Curse the edge because I like the way Michael looks there. He might be a little rotund, but I like the way he looks. And yeah, I mean, it is what it is. I'm happy that we have those movies. I really enjoy Danielle Harris's performance in both. I'm not a Tina hater, and I think Loomis has some really good moments in 5. So I think they've all got their pluses for sure. But for me, Curse kind of brings back those feels of like the original film, especially in the producer's cut. Yeah, I would say I'm a fan. I'm not. If I'm going to go gaga over any of the trilogies or groupings of films, it's gonna be the David Gordon Green, outside of the original, 2 for sure.
Somebody reminded me just very recently why the mask for so long in 4 never bothered me. Somebody just posted a 35 millimeter print of Halloween 4. And it's got like the green lines running vertically through. I mean, it's a damaged print, which kind of adds to the charm of it. But I posted a link to it, I think in Killer Flicks or somewhere like that. But man, it is glorious looking. And I tell you right now, that mask looks amazing when you watch that 35 millimeter print because there's just so much more contrast to it. And I remembered how the movie looked when I saw it when it first came out. It looked like that. And nobody complained about the mask back then because they saw it theatrically. And man, that mask looked creepy. And like the scene where Jamie's, having the nightmare in the bedroom and Myers pops up to the side of the bed and he like looks over at her. Seeing it, a 35 millimeter print of that was no joke. Like Myers looked super freaking creepy pretty much throughout the entire movie. And then it comes out on freaking DVD and Blu-ray.
Mm-hmm.
And then all the imperfections are sort of like boosted. And I remember when I watched Halloween 4 on Blu-ray for the first time, I was like, oh, Myers doesn't look as scary now, And maybe that's why sometimes I want to throw in my VHS. And now I'll probably watch that 35 millimeter print because, guys, I'm going to tell you, it looks glorious. So, Nick, I guess that's a good question for you as far as Halloween 4 goes. I know you don't like Rachel that much, but have you had
Don't get him started.
Yeah, here we go. Have you had a problem with the mask in Halloween 4? Has it ever been an issue for you?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's the finger in the booty mask. That's what I've called it for forever. He just looks surprised. He's like, "Holy shit!" But it's not enough to really like knock the movie down all that much for me.
Yeah.
Like to the broader question of like Thorn and the Thorn trilogy. When people debate that semantic shit, it makes me want to gouge my eyes out. Like,
yeah,
well, technically Halloween 4 didn't have any mention. Okay, who cares? I didn't give it the name, the Thorn trilogy. Okay, that's just like a consensus opinion. Don't come at me for that. Mm-hmm. It's following the same characters and their arcs throughout 3 films. And if the trilogy is dubbed that, then we're just going to dub it that. And if it's that big of a deal to you, touch grass. I don't know.
Yeah.
But to defend... Like to defend Thorn for a second, look, it's really hard to defend the Cult of Thorn. I can't lie. Like, it's really hard. So my defense of it would be kudos to Daniel Ferrens, because he tried his best to try to make everything make sense. He wanted to keep everything in continuity. He wanted to explain everything.
Yep.
And in doing so, he created a narrative that goes a little too far for my liking, for sure. Specifically with, what Michael does to Jamie and how she has a baby and all this shit. It's just like, it's a little too far. But I give credit where it's due that he really tried to bring it all together. So that's the only defense I can really give of the Thorn cult.
Okay.
They were painted into a corner, that's for sure. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think out of all the, I guess, trilogies, and I know Nick's been doing like a series, which has been really entertaining, of, Halloween and the best of and the worst of. But as far as like my favorite trilogy, I think it's still Thorn. And I think the reason being is because I'm an ambiguity guy. I tend to like ambiguity in movies. I tend to like forming my own opinions and forming my own little stories, filling in the gaps myself. And I think some people, they like everything tied up in a bow when they watch a movie. And I think there's kind of a fine line there. I think you don't want to pull back too much, because then you're like, okay, now it looks like lazy writing. But if it feels like, they force the ambiguity on purpose, and maybe there is it's like The Thing at the end of The Thing, right? And only Carpenter and maybe Kurt Russell know the true answer to that, and I think they've been dicking people around with the real answer to that for years and years and years, for fun. But I think that's part of the fun of The Thing, is kind of forming your own opinion, or maybe neither one of them are the thing at the end of the movie. I like when movies do that. I like when movies, and the Thorn thing and Halloween 6. And by the way, some days I do prefer Halloween 6 over Halloween 4. I love the movie so freaking much for so many reasons. The way it looks, the soundtrack, the 90s vibe that it has, the look of Myers. Man, I could just go on and on. Halloween 6 to me is a freaking treasure, a gift. Theatrical cut. And that's just me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're not. Yeah. I'm a theatrical cut guy myself, and I would agree that my favorite timeline in the series is 1, 2, 4, 5, 6. It's my favorite timeline. Shit, I can even put 3 in that timeline. I can't because it's not a part of it, but I can because it's not a part of it, so it doesn't ruin anything for me. So I'm like, fuck yeah, give me the first 6 movies. I will maintain to this day, and there have been movies that I have liked after 6. Don't get me wrong. The last classic Halloween movie is Halloween 6, in the sense of like the way the music sounded, the way it looked, the way it felt. It still had that late 80s tinge to it, even though it came out in the mid 90s. It's the last one to feel that way. There have been
Donald
great
Pleasance.
Movies after that. Yeah, and Donald Pleasance. That's probably a big part of it too.
That's the big hook.
That's those first 5 Myers movies and 6 movies in total. If I was on a desert island, I want those. That's what I want.
Exactly. It's nice to have the David Gordon Green trilogy. It's a nice little side quest type deal, but I always call it like the Carpenter years movies. Even though Carpenter had nothing to do with a few of them, they all feel like 6 feels like there's some DNA from part 1,
Oh yeah.
I just think like that vibe has never been duplicated. H2O feels like, and maybe this is one of the reasons why I poke fun at H2O so much, is because it feels like something, it's like there's a bowl, right? And they took like half the bowl and just tossed it out. And H2O feels like it's just sanitized Halloween. It doesn't feel like the full, I don't know, whatever the meal that Halloween is. It feels like some ingredients are missing from the meal. And
H2O hits its stride. It hits its stride when Sarah's death scene starts. When she gets in the dumbwaiter and shit, because that's a really great death scene. That's when it really hits its stride, because Laurie knows he's there. You start to see Laurie go into attack mode. You have one of the best moments in the series where she is she's looking for Michael Myers. Like the music swells. You've got this overhead shot. Her shadow is just like, I mean, it's awesome. Like it did. But the first half of that movie really struggles to find its footing because it forgets that it's a Halloween movie. It's trying really hard to be a Scream movie. And it's like, no. I know that's popular right now, but Scream only exists because of you. So like, be yourself. Once that happens, the nighttime comes and he starts killing people on campus. That's when it really hits its stride.
Yeah, it feels like it's rushed to, even though it hits its stride and it's awesome. It feels like, because when I saw the movie for the first time in the theater, when it was over, I was just like, no, keep going, give me something more, because it felt like it just ended abruptly and so quickly, and I got chills hearing that iconic theme finally when the credits started rolling and she chops his head off. But when you think about the final acts in all the previous movies, they were pretty hearty final acts. You know, there was a lot going on in them. There were a lot of different set pieces. I mean, even 6, it feels like a journey when you get the moment where Tommy Doyle, Paul Rudd, is at the door and he sees Myers start coming towards him, and then you get the dun dun dun. By the time you get to the end of that whole thing, it feels like you've been on a journey. Whereas H2O, it's like point A to point B, and then boom, it's over. So, yeah.
The Paul Rudd nervous laughter in that moment is so odd. There's so many odd acting decisions he makes there. But I think H2O, one thing I mentioned on my channel, I don't know if it was earlier this week, is I was like, would it be more like, would that movie work better if, like, so the investigators that are going through the room right before the credits kick in at the beginning of the film after the opening scene, should we have gotten another 15 minutes or so where we actually see some pursuit of Michael across the country, and then we see at least that one cop show up at the end of the film? Like, I know that Steve Miner was trying to kind of go back to not as many kills and bringing it a little bit back to 78 in that sense. But I do think that we just don't get to see Michael really do enough in H2O. And then, I think the third act is really rushed. And again, more problems with the mask. I mean, however I feel about the Winston mask, it's not the worst thing in the world, but the going back and forth from that K and B mask to the Winston mask, I don't even have to mention the CG thing. Hey, I will say this, NECA with their ultimate figurine, they're being very kind to H2O, kind of revisionist history, because they make that K and B mask look a lot better.
They make it look good.
I can't tell the difference hardly between the CG mask head and this Winston mask head. I don't know why they did that. We don't even get the curse mask head in that toy or in that action figure, which is odd, because I think that's when Michael looks his best, is in that opening scene with the curse mask. But there is something about H2O that just seems like missing and rushed. And even though I do really like, the whole fight with Laurie at the end, I really dig that, but it's so distracting how every other cut, it's the K and B mask, Winston mask, K and B. It's just, especially when they're in the hall and he's like chasing her through there, it's very distracting to me. So I don't know. H2O is rough.
What you're talking about missing, as you're talking about that, I know exactly what you're talking about, because I feel it too. You're missing a Loomis type character, a pursuer of Michael. We don't have that in the movie. Michael, like Laurie, is the hunted. We don't have a hunter aside from Michael Myers. Whereas in every Halloween movie before that, there was another hunter. There was a hunter protagonist. And so, it probably could have added something to the movie to have these cops not just do the setup at the beginning, but have them go across country to, and maybe see a path that Michael lays waste to on his way there. And
exactly.
That's something that I think would have elevated the movie, because really it's just set up. And really it's just set up to say, all those movies that you saw after Halloween 2, they don't exist. That's not real. Okay, cool. You're all caught up now. And it's just like, And to anybody that tries to stretch and say, because people say it like, no, H2O, it keeps Thorne in canon. No, it does not. Just because it has a picture,
no, it doesn't.
Just because it has a picture of scissors on the wall, that was fan service. So you guys watching it went, oh wait, yeah, but no, it is not canon. So they were really just set up, and it kind of pissed me off. Maybe it should have been Marion. It should have been fucking Marion. She should have died. Maybe her neighbors get killed. She comes home and finds out that Michael ransacked her house and found the file for Laurie, and she goes to be like, oh shit, he's gonna go kill Laurie. Like, yeah, we needed something like that in the movie.
For the last little segment, closing this thing out, I want to talk about Myers and why Myers, to a lot of people, is king. I know Davey's his favorite franchise is Evil Dead. But I really kind of just want to close this off by just kind of paying tribute to Myers. My story with Myers is, I think the first slasher killer that kind of entered my subconscious was Jason Voorhees. You know, being 10 years old, having sleepovers with my cousin, watching Friday the 13th Part 3. And I think that's what really gave me my first like real like scare, you know. But there was always this like looming thing in the background that I would hear, Michael Myers. And it just, before I even like the name, there's something creepy about his name, Michael Myers, because it sounds like a normal guy, but you know he's a killer. Whereas Jason Voorhees sounds like a fun not slapstick, but you know, there's a fun vibe to the name Jason Voorhees. Michael Myers, just saying his name, there's something sinister, something weird, something evil. So then when I saw Halloween 4, and I'm sure I probably saw the first Halloween before Halloween 4, but I don't think I gave it its full due when I was watching it. Halloween 4 is what really sent it home. Oh my God, this guy right here, there's a reason why he's coming back strong. Because Halloween 3 came out, Myers wasn't in there. We all thought Myers was gone, but he came back strong. Like, and I think part of that is just the white mask, the person behind that mask that doesn't say a single freaking word. But there's also this like undercurrent of evil about him, whereas you don't really get that again. And I know it sounds like I'm knocking Jason Voorhees. I'm not. I think you need Jason Voorhees for a certain mood in your head, and you need Michael Myers, and you need Freddy for, like, I don't need Michael Myers every day. There's certain days where I'm like, I'm in the mood for Jason Voorhees. I want to have fun. I want to watch a nice camp slash. I want to look at girls, you know, whatever. With Myers, it's like, okay, now I want to get into an evil story with a hunter that's coming after this guy and the rampage that he is putting on this little town. You know, that whole suburban vibe that permeates throughout the Halloween franchise. You don't get that with other franchises, you know, like Jason Voorhees. It's more of a camp type thing, which also is great. So I think it's about like just the atmosphere, the town of Haddonfield, Myers himself just being like the ultimate boogeyman. And I think that's part of the reason that he's still so big today. I think that, you know, I've talked about this in the past, how a friend of mine, his daughter, 12 years old, she saw Halloween 2018. That was the very first movie in the franchise that she saw. Boom, she's hooked immediately. The movie freaked her out. And she was interested in that killer, Michael Myers. You know, that scene David was talking about with Myers just doing the one take shot coming through. That was a lot of people's introduction to the character, you know, and it's so cool how that's why I think Michael Myers will never die. He'll just keep cropping up because there's always a new young crop of directors that have their story about Michael Myers, and they wanted to make their movie, and eventually it's going to happen. And we'll get great stories throughout time that just permeate with people and resonate with people and turn people into the fanatic that I am and Nick is and others are today. So yeah, that's what Myers means to me. So now I'll pass it to Nick. What does Myers mean to you, good sir?
You know, I actually think I did a video on this like 2 years ago, and I think I titled it "Why Michael Myers is the King." And the impetus for it was, just having fun with Christian going back and forth because he maintains that Freddy is the king. And, and I stated my case for why I disagree with that. Look, it's the name. It's everything you mentioned. You just said something and it made me think of my favorite Jamie Lloyd moment is in Halloween 5 when she says, "He'll never die," at the end of the movie. And it's just like, it's crazy because like that little girl, like, obviously fictional character, but like after those 2 movies, like at the end of 5, she's like, he's never going to die. Like, stop trying to butter me up. Like this is evil. I think that the thing is with Halloween in its inception, at least, is there was no explanation. There was no rhyme or reason. He wasn't someone back from the dead. There were no known weaknesses. He had no personality. That's what made him so scary. I've told this story before, but my mom said that, when she saw that movie as a kid in theaters, well, she was like a teenager, she was a babysitter. And she was like, it scared the daylights out of all of us because this is just a dude that it could happen to anyone for no reason. And, he doesn't talk. It's very animalistic. There's just something about this character that I think sets him apart from other people. Now, sure, do they get a little long in the tooth and explain him as the movies go on? Oh, yeah, they do. And does it get ridiculous? 100%. But at the end of the day, in their inception, Jason's a little kid in his first movie. And by the time he gets his first full movie, you already find out his weakness is his mom. Freddy is very serious in the first movie. You don't get a lot of him, but he's very serious. But even in the first movie, he still has some quips and some puns. And that only grows as the movies go. And he gets vanquished at the end of every movie. Now, sure, he comes back, but he gets vanquished. Michael Myers doesn't get vanquished. He disappears at the end of Halloween. He's gone.
Yeah.
Halloween 2, no matter what timeline you want to go off of, he's still alive in Halloween 4 and he busts out. In Halloween H2O, the body went missing. Nobody knows where he went. So I just think there's a lot about the mystique of this character, the mystery, the lack of personality, the lack of weaknesses or explanations that made this guy the king for me. But above all else, it's because it could happen to any of us. And I think that's what makes it the scariest.
Yeah. Before I go to Davey, I think it's the snap. And I think that's what resonates with people. I think we hear these stories of someone, they snap for no reason. And then all of a sudden there's like it could be a murder spree, or it could be they kill their whole family, or they kill a girlfriend, or it's tragedy. These things that happen, it's just, just a little, and you don't know what it is that sets them off. It could be a variety of things, but oftentimes,
but even when you find out, Lee, it doesn't matter. How many times, guys, have we heard about what a serial killer's reasoning was, or a mass shooter's reasoning was? It never makes it better because there's no reason. So, like, the fact that the movie doesn't even try to give you a reason, it's even more frustrating because you're like, and terrifying because you're like, I can't even know why this guy's doing this. No, he just wants to.
And I won't go into details, but it seems like a Michael Myers type story pops up every few years. And, there's like a Netflix documentary about this guy who killed his whole family, and he had no prior history of violence whatsoever, just a very quiet guy. And there was a motive there. But that motive is like to kill your whole family. And his wife was pregnant.
Oh, Chris Watts. You're talking about Chris Watts.
Look up the Chris Watts story, dude. It's
absolute monster.
It's strange. And when they've interviewed him in prison after, he says there was just a darkness, a blackness that took over him. And
there's a whole weird background thing with the Christopher Watts story that Leanna Bevy Rage has filled me in on, because I knew that he had a mistress and everything, but as the story has continued to unfold, there's like talks of like a sex cult and deleted text messages and questions of where she was on the day that those murders happened.
Oh yeah.
And who else may have been involved. And Watts isn't saying anything about it. So yeah, I mean, there's all sorts of. I got really into watching like interrogations of people that have done these sorts of things. Russell Williams is another really big story from. He was a pilot in the Canadian military. He was like on the group that would like welcome the Queen in when she came into the country and everything, and he was on his way to becoming like a pretty massive serial killer. But leading up to that, he did all the stalking, breaking into homes, stealing like women's underwear, watching these people. The BTK killer had an entire like binder full of people that he was interested in, and he would follow them and wait for like some sort of silent inspiration to tell him to go after these people. So there is something about that, like that monster that could just lurk inside anyone. And I think with Michael, it is like the alliterative name is great. It's like Reed Richards, Clark Kent, Lois Lane. There's a ring to it. So you get a ring to it with Michael Myers, which I think is one of the reasons why it's Corey Cunningham, is to go back to that alliterative kind of thing, vibe in Halloween Ends. And there is something about like, even though you can say that like Jason and Freddy are kind of like folklorish in certain regards, I think there's something about Michael that's just so classic. He feels like a villain that could have been, or a character that could have been written about or come up with when they were creating like Frankenstein and Dracula. He kind of fits in with these like old timey folklore kind of characters. And there's something about the blankness of the mask. It is sort of like this Rorschach test. Like everybody sees something different in that mask. Sometimes the mask looks different from shot to shot because of the lighting. So it kind of brings a little bit of there's like an odd, uncanny valley to it. But every time I go back to the original Halloween film, I find it more creepy every single time because of, kind of what Nick was saying, that it feels like something that is, pretty realistic. Like serial killers sit there and watch and wait for the perfect moment. Ted Bundy said that the act of murder is relatively simple if you just wait for the right opportunity, which is probably one of the most chilling things anyone could ever say, is that he just sort of brushed it off like, what I'm doing is that like, this is easy to get away with, which is a wild thought to have. And yeah, I just think there's something about, like, I think Michael is going to stand the test of time I think in a couple hundred years, people are going to think of him right along the likes of these classic characters like Dracula and these literary villains that we continue to go back to. And I do think he's the king. And there's just something about it. My buddy Cecil, he calls him the walking wall. And it's about the meanest thing. It's the meanest thing you could say about my boy. I don't think that. I think the thing about Michael that is so scary is we all see something a little different in him, and we all project our own fears on him. And that's what makes him the ultimate slasher villain, is that, it's a little bit of a different experience for everyone, but it's frightening nonetheless. And we keep on getting iterations of this character. And there's something about it. He is, I don't know. I can't put my finger on it, but he is, I fell in love, seeing Halloween 2 on TV way back in the day, seeing Dick Warlock's version. And I've not let go of that. It's like 1990, I think, is when I saw that. I can't shake it. Michael is, like you say, Lee, he's my boy.
And once you guys got older, are you like me too, where it's like, you watch some of these movies and you just look at him physically and you're like, this guy's not that imposing. Like in a life or death situation, like I like my chances against him. I'm a foot taller than him or whatever it is. But then you watch what he does in these movies and you're like, dude, it doesn't matter. He could be 5'2" and he would run straight through me. Like it doesn't matter. And I think that's one of the things that has really separated Jason and Michael for me, is like Jason looks like a tank. Like Michael performs like a tank, but doesn't look like a tank, except in Rob's movies. Like he just looks like a dude. And that's all the more scary. And it's, again, I mean, not to get too long-winded, but just like, you're talking about serial killers and stuff like that. Like I always go back to, I think the one that is probably the one that sticks out for me the most throughout history is Dahmer. I think that Dahmer was truly like one of the sickest individuals to ever live. Yet he was super intelligent and super like contrite and honest, and just straight up said, like, it was an impulse. They asked him in prison, if you were let out, are you afraid you'd do it again? He said, yes, I can't help it. Like, and that's Michael Myers to me, like in the sense of like this character, this is all he knows is like, I just want to kill people. And that's fucking scary, dude. Like, I mean, I don't know. So yeah, you'll never get argument from me. I think Michael is the king.
And there's something, the supernatural aspect just is never explained. And that kind of goes along with the size thing, Nick. Like, I love that even when he's 5'10", there is like this unexplained power that he has to where he will dominate. It's the same reason why he gets up after being shot 6 times. And I just imagine what it must have been like in 1978 to walk out of the theater and have that ending. And then you don't get another Michael movie until what, 81. So that's a lot of time for it to breathe. Like, I'm happy there are more Halloween movies, but I think that even if it were just the one, we would still be talking about that film and the impact that it had. And especially just how it, left. We'd probably maybe even praise it more that it didn't do the sequels that everyone else did.
Yeah, probably.
Well, to counter Cecil, and I love Cecil, but he's technically right, is walking wall. But if there were, it's the backstory for me. Like, if there were no backstory for Myers whatsoever, he was just a walking wall coming at people, that's fine. But the fact that he was a 6-year-old child that murdered his sister for no apparent reason whatsoever, just evil took him over. And then you got Loomis that's trying to reach him. And he realizes that this is pretty much like the Antichrist. I can't reach him because he's not a human being. So I think and then it's up to us, the audience, to fill in the blanks, those evil blanks that aren't provided by Loomis or by the story, Carpenter, that make him so effective.
And you never can.
He's the darkness in all of us.
And that you never can. And I think that's one of the most intoxicating things about the characters. You can try to fill in those blanks with your mind, but you just can't, because as a rational human being, you just always end up where we always end up with serial killers is I can't wrap my head around why someone would do this. Like you can't.
Yeah.
There's other movies that have a walking wall. Like I give you Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 3. That is the worst movie in the franchise. You have a walking wall in that movie, but there's no story there that kind of gives you the and he's supposed to be Ricky from the first 2 movies. There's nothing interesting about Ricky.
Well, I don't know Cecil, but and no shade, but you guys just let him know that's a dog shit take.
It is. It's about the story.
Full disclosure, I think Cecil just likes to say it just to see if he can get me riled up. He's that kind of guy for sure. But and I think one of the reasons why, when Rob Zombie uses the Rorschach test in RZH2, I think in a way that's sort of a callback to just The Mask, that we all see something different in Michael, and that's the Rorschach test, that's us filling in the gaps. And I think that's why they did that with some sort of purpose. And it's very difficult to explain the white horse and everything, but in a way, I think the white horse is kind of supposed to be a physical embodiment of the Rorschach, like that we're all just supposed to bring something different, even though I don't quite know what it means.
Blazing Asian, he says, who would you like to see direct a new Halloween movie? I've had a few names. Like, for me right now, it would be David Robert Mitchell. I think that would be the one guy, if I could have any, because I'd like it to be a young, hot director. I think what he did with It Follows, I couldn't help but think about Halloween when I was watching It Follows and the potential that he could bring to a Halloween movie. And I'm sure there's other answers, but for me, I think it would be David Robert Mitchell for sure. And I know, has Davey given me an answer to this before of who you think would be a good director for Halloween, or maybe I'm just thinking different?
I don't think you've ever asked, but I'm kind of with Nightmare in 3D there. I really like what Oz Perkins did with Longlegs. Ooh, and I think like that's if you bring that cinematographer, if you bring that, director of photography in there, it's like, I think you could capture something that would give you an unsettling feel. I don't know. Maybe that's just an easy answer to say Oz Perkins, and he probably just wants to make his own movies. But hey, and I know these guys are making their own movies as well, and they do a really, really good job at it. even, like the Filippo brothers or something like that, to give them some sort of property would be interesting as well, because I think they do a really good job with casting, sound design, and the way they shoot their movies. So those are the things I think about when I think Halloween. Who's somebody that can bring like some deliberate, some sort of like deliberate style to it, and bring it back to the roots a little bit.
Yeah, Blu-ray Addict. Well, what Blu-ray Addict said previously, not there, but the one. Ty West. Ty West.
Yeah, Ty West
would be phenomenal. And I specifically think of House of the Devil. And how that's a slow burn. Just feels so 70s. I think he could nail it. But yeah, David Robert Mitchell's been the one that I've also felt for a while too. Also, definitely want to get an update on They Follow. I was super stoked when that got announced, and I want that to go before cameras so I know it's actually happening. Yeah, give me David Robert Mitchell or Ty West, because I already got my fan casting with The Exorcist. I'm eventually going to get a Mike Flanagan Exorcist. He's the only person I want to see direct one. So.
All right, I think that's a good place to tie this up, man. I could talk about Halloween forever, and I was a little nervous at first. I was like, "Do I have enough topics?" And we didn't even touch half of them, So we could definitely do. And you always get the views with Halloween. I mean, we had a freaking 115 people watching on just my channel, and we had three. I think Nick, did you?
I didn't simulcast only because I felt like last time I worried that it might have taken some of the viewership away from your channel. So I
don't even care about that at all. But anything I can do to send some love you guys, your channel's way, I love that. I do these for just the fun of hanging out with you guys.
Oh yeah.
It's always a blast, and we all have such a good rapport with each other. It all started with Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, Davey reaching in saying, "Hey, let's get together," and it turned into this. So, Davey, what do you got? What do you got on tap, man?
I have got, so right now I'm finishing up editing an interview. Leanna put me in touch with a gentleman named Jacob Hare. He is a supervising director on Rick and Morty. So nice. He's an animator, illustrator. He worked on King of the Hill, Family Guy, American Dad, all that kind of stuff. Now he's an Emmy Award-winning director from, I believe it was season 4 of Rick and Morty, the Vat of Acid episode, if there are any Rick and Morty fans out there. He's a huge horror fan. So we talk a little bit about his journey as an artist, but we also talk about, where his love of horror came from and everything. So I'm putting the finishing touches on that. I've got, let's see here, Late Night with the Davies going to be coming up on Wednesday. We've got an artist from Instagram who I love a lot called TB Snack Break. And he does these he takes punk rock album covers and does 80s, 90s pop culture parodies of them. So nice. He did In on the Kill Taker by Fugazi, but did it like Mars Attacks. He does all these fun little parody things, so we're going to have him on there. And then I've got a couple guest spots, so I'm going to be on Flet's Movies and Pop Culture 13 this week, and Dark Room Reviews, talking about my favorite horror of the 2020s so far. So a jam-packed week here for me.
Hell yeah. I love it. Nick, what about you, brother?
So tomorrow I got a video. It's on my Patreon now. That's going to be on my channel called "Where a Nightmare on Elm Street Went Wrong." And because
I'm loving this series, by the way, that you're doing.
Well, a lot of people were like, do Nightmare, do Friday the 13th. Yeah. I was like, all right, fuck it. So "Where a Nightmare on Elm Street Went Wrong" drops tomorrow, and then I'll have a video. Then we're recording the podcast tomorrow as well, Unita. So I'll have that drop later this week. And I also have another video that I've recorded, but I have not started editing. I'm probably going to do that when we're done here. That is literally just called, and the thumbnail is going to have me holding Halloween ends in it. And it's just going to say, "Do I have terrible taste in movies?"
Yeah.
So I'm excited to put that one up on my channel. And then I recorded some things to drop over the next few days, because Tuesday morning, I'm actually getting my last wisdom tooth pulled. So I'm not going to want to talk for 2 or 3 days much. So I'll have stuff to drop over those days while I'm slowly healing. So, that's what I got coming up this week.
Years ago, one of my DD lives was called "Do I Have Terrible Taste in Movies?" And I had Strangers Pray at Night on there, Halloween Kills, because Halloween Kills had just come out, and some other movie. But Damian Maffey, who was in Strangers Pray at Night, he's like, "What the fuck?" Sent me a message, and I was like, "No, dude, it's an inside joke. Just trust me, you're good."
It's actually funny, Lee. In the thumbnail, it is me holding my Blu-rays of Halloween Ends, The Last Jedi, and fuck, I'm trying to remember what the third movie was that I was holding. But it's 3 movies that people give me shit about liking, and I'm holding it in the thumbnail, and it's just gonna say, do I have bad taste in movies?
It's a
maybe,
good topic, man.
And I think the end of the video, I literally just go, yeah, maybe I do, and maybe I don't give a shit. I don't know. Yeah, that'll be fun.
I got it feels like I either have too much on tap or not enough on tap because I got to do like a ranking of the I know movies. I just recorded my June encasing, which is a roundup of everything I watched in June. And what I like about the encasings is I actually put everything, not just new movies. I'll put like if I watched freaking Buffy the Vampire Slayer, it's on there, so people kind of get a an idea of like where I would rank. Buffy. Not that I watched Buffy this month, but yeah, where I rank Friday the 13th Part 3 amongst everything new that has come out. So yeah, I got that recorded, and I got like 3 other things recorded too, which I don't even. It's just too much. But I got a lot of editing to do.
You're gonna love it. I just remembered the third movie I'm holding in the thumbnail is Nightmare 2010.
Oh, there you perfect example. That's why I always say me and Nick, man, and I love 2 of those movies. Last Jedi, that's another story, but
I know.
Yeah.
Well, hey, really quick before we head out, and I don't know if he's still in the chat, but Dave Vanderhoff, if you check this out at the very end, all 3 of us have really awesome Dave Vanderhoff custom-made tombstones
we
now.
do.
I'm part of the cool kid club. It happens. So I think that's pretty awesome that we all got those. So just want to give Dave a shout out for that.
Dave's good people.
Oh, he is. Yeah, that's Dave Vanderhoff, and that's Dave Vanderhoff, and I could.
Sweet.
He's given me like a lot of Myers mask, and he just sent me this Giallo movie. Like we'll text back and forth in Instagram. And he'll today he was talking about the band Danger Danger and the band that they went to after Danger Danger because Nirvana took over. So all these bands had to scramble and come up with different. So yeah, Dave Vanderhoff, he's the best. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's going to wrap it up, guys. We will definitely see you in 2 weeks. That's the plan. Mm-hmm. And hopefully we get some good horror news. But anytime we don't have horror news, maybe we could do a freaking Nightmare on Elm Street or a Friday episode, or an Evil Dead episode. We'll do that for Davey. But take care of yourselves, everyone. I'm horrible.